Hello guys, welcome here to Bridgeport, West Virginia. Welcome to the Meadowbrook Mall. Let's go inside and let's go check it out. Hello everybody, and welcome to Bridgeport, West Virginia, and welcome to the beautiful Meadowbrook Mall. And this mall continues to thrive in this relatively small community here in Bridgeport, West Virginia. This is about an hour south or so of the Morgantown area, 45 minutes to an hour. And it continues, to serve as the main shopping center for the Bridgeport, Clarksburg area of the state here in West Virginia. Now, I will say history on this mall is very scarce. What I do know is that this was originally built in late 1982 by the Cafaro Company, which still owns the mall to this day. And I will say Cafaro knows how to run their malls. You don't usually see a dead one that they own. Now, they did own the Estabula Town Square, and I know that mall did die, but they did eventually sell it off, and it's gotten much worse since after they sold it. But most of their malls are doing quite well, such as the Mill Creek Mall, this mall, which is the Meadowbrook Mall, the Ohio Valley Mall, which just got some really good news, by the way, as well as the Sandusky Mall up in Sandusky, Ohio, just to name a few. There also is the one out in Michigan, which is probably their most struggling, and then they also own a few in the West and the Midwest area. But they know how to run their malls. They're very locally based. They have strong leasing agents. I'm not trying to be a spokesperson for the company, but I'm just stating the fact. They know how to run their malls, and even though the architecture Cafaro malls are not my favorite. You don't see many architectural features of this place. That's why you don't see as many shots of skylights and fountains. There's no fountains here, so you don't see that as much. But I still was very much impressed. Now, the former anchors that used to be here was a Murphy Mart, Stone and Thomas, Ames, and the Bonton, which that later became a Elder Beerman store, as you know. Elder Beerman was based here in West Virginia as well in Ohio. And, of course, you had Sears and JCPenney, which is still here, just to name a few. Now, obviously, most of those anchors are now long gone. The one that I do know is that Sears closed in 2018, as, Sears has been dying for years. But that spot is now filled, as it is what you're currently staring at, the beautiful Boscov store. And interesting fact all about Boscovs is they have a great relationship with the Cafaro Company. That's why you've seen many of the newer Boscovs open up, in Cafaro malls, like I mentioned with Mill Creek, Ohio Valley, Eastwood, this one. So maybe in Sandusky we'll get one if they find open space for it, or one of their other malls. Maybe they're spent out to Michigan. We will see. But overall, adding this to the mall along with the JCPenney, and then you also have Target and you have Marshalls at the other end, which those were added. Marshalls, that was added in 2008. I couldn't find exactly when the Target was added and whatever, but I will say, Target, as much as I don't like them, because I did work for them for 4 years, they are a busy company, and this one used mall access, so I will say I approve of that. So, but yeah, and also this mall has quite a few national chains, very little vacancy, though that is one of the rare ones, and I wanted to get a shot of that for this video, because you don't see too many Garfields that are still empty and still have the sign up. I thought that was really cool, and I wish I could have gone in there and seen it, but it seals up tight, and I really am not in the mood, since they own a lot of malls that I go to regularly, to get in trouble to find out. But that still was really cool to see. But other than that, most of your national chains are still here. You have Bath and Body Works, you have Victoria's Secret. I believe Claire's is still here. I don't have an official confirmation on that, as I've not been back since. As I'm sure many of you have seen, they've been closing down stores here for a while as part of their bankruptcy, but they've been staying open, and they reversed their closings in their mostly thriving malls. So I would expect this one probably stayed, but if anybody wants to comment down below, feel free to let me know. But most other than that, most of your national chains are still here, as well as in the food court, which was fully occupied. Now, I didn't go there because I wasn't hungry, because I just got breakfast at the hotel. We stayed in the area that night, but if I would have gone there, I would have not been disappointed. There was quite a few really nice food options, and the food court was probably my favorite part of the whole mall, aesthetically wise. I liked the way it was laid out, and I've noticed that with the Sephora malls that, for the most part, that's usually the best part of their malls. I would say the only one that's probably an exception to that is the Mill Creek Mall in Erie. I think the food court there is really bland and just, but we're not getting into that mall. We're talking about this mall. But my overall impression of this mall was I was very impressed. Um, there is quite a few really good reasons to go to this mall, and I will say, it was clean, it was neat. And I did walk around, and I did also support the mall. There was a local T-shirt store that I supported in there, and I got a really cool T-shirt of something else. So I thought that was really cool, and shout out to them. If you need anything with that, go to them, get them local business, tell them that I sent you there. But in any event, here I'm going to sign off in a minute and some music and rest of it. I hope you guys enjoy the look here at the Meadowbrook Mall in Bridgeport, West Virginia. If you all do, you all know the drill. And make sure to hit like, comment, and of course, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Live from Bridgeport, West Virginia, Alex Weinsheimer's out, and I will talk to you guys real soon. And bye-bye.